At Rieux-la-Pape, in the suburbs of Lyon in France, the Coexist Association works with young college students to talk to them about the importance of interreligious dialogue.
So we are going to display a chart, and in the spreadsheet there are several columns. Copy the symbols of 3 religions, then add the first words which come to mind when someone talks to you about Islam, Judaism, or Christianity.
They get the students to play games and engage in workshops to help them express their points of view, their ideas and their feelings on different aspects regarding the religions.
The aim is to get them to write down everything that comes to mind regarding each one of the religions, including their prejudices. It's anonymous, so they can really express what they want. They generally have very brutal prejudices, and also a lot of truth. But there are also a lot of brutal prejudices, and so now we're going to summarize what they have written down.
The debate begins very easily, and the reactions are rather strong.
Some of these things are false.
Why are there insults? Why are there insults?
This is blasphemy, prejudice.
I'm not Christian, but they put pedophile for Christians, and frankly, I cannot see why. It is clearly intended to provoke. There is a lot of hodgepodge, and prejudices go very far, but I believe that the media is to blame for this, since the media creates an environment which incites us to think like this.
In my opinion, it's a pity people always think about the bad people. For example, the bad Muslims, the bad Jews, the bad Christians, and that the emphasis is put on these people, and that the good ones aren't as equally represented. For example, a good Muslim, a good Jew, a good Christian is a good person who isn't going to hurt anyone, and the bad ones are emphasized too much compared to the good ones who are trying to make progress.
Personally, I'm a Christian. I'm getting confirmed in November, and my boyfriend is a Muslim. I believe that I am living proof that despite our religious differences, we can love each other. To those who say Muslims are terrorists and Christians are pedophiles, I suggest they read the Holy Scriptures to find out what the religions really say. Otherwise, saying this type of thing about them should really be kept to oneself. That they reacted is very good, even when the reaction is very aggressive. The aim is to get them to express themselves. The aim of the chart is not to sugarcoat the world we live in, claiming that the world is a nice place, because that's not true. Nobody believes that. Otherwise, there would be no assaults on the street or religious discrimination. It's actually our job to break open the debate in order to place this issue at the forefront of their minds. They will talk about it and may have a discussion about it over lunch. The reaction will be one of shock, and when you are shocked, you want to talk about it and find out what other people think, to fight a bit with your ideas and to say, no, that's not normal. So that was the sort of goal we were looking for.
The Coexist Association is a movement of young believers and non-believers who promote peace and interreligious dialogue. Samuel Jaboski, the founder, was a young secondary student when he felt the urgent need to create this movement.
I founded Coexist in January 2009 at a very specific time in France when there was a very high level of tension between the religious communities. There was Operation Cast Lead in Gaza, and demonstrations were being held in support of the Israeli population and the Palestinian population. I remember one morning I was listening to France Info radio in the car with my parents, and 2 separate marches in support of these 2 populations had clashed at one of the train stations. There had been violent physical exchanges and people had been wounded. Throughout France, Christian, Jewish and Muslim communities had come together to organize peaceful demonstrations, saying that they were against the arrival in France of conflicts from abroad, and that, although we are free to express our opinion on the topic, we can't name someone as the enemy here.
Consequently, Samuel made an appeal as part of a peaceful demonstration to young people, asking them to join him in organizing a significant initiative. He set up a blood donation station to show that Jews, Christians and Muslims had something in common and could give life. This campaign led to the creation of Coexist 6 months later with this group of young people. 10 people answered Samuel's call. 2 Jews, 3 Muslims, 5 Christians and 1 atheist. Like a football team, all 11 of them set off on an adventure.
Today we are well aware of the multi-ethnic, multi-religious society that we live in, and that we don't have the choice but to live with each other. This isn't optional, it isn't a pious wish for French society, it's not some hippie idea for a better world. Today we can clearly see that we live in this world, in this French society, which is composed of many different convictions. And the only choice we have is to try and build dialogue between people so that they can learn to understand each other, live together, and do what we can to build the strongest possible social bonds in France.
In France, in January 2015, the deadly attack against the Charlie Hebdo newspaper, as well as the hostage-taking in a kosher supermarket in Paris, only served to highlight the urgency of building dialogue between cultural and religious communities. On the 11th of January, millions of people took part in Republican demonstrations in France and throughout the whole world. Many heads of state took part in the event, as well as many religious leaders, bishops, imams, rabbis. They spoke out about their faith, their values, and their questions for the future. These events clearly had a special impact in the offices of Coexist.
Jews, Christians and Muslims came together to show solidarity. Everyone was a little scared. The Jews were scared because of what happened in the kosher supermarket. I felt uncomfortable because I thought they would blame my community. But in fact, not at all. We all saw that we were there for each other. Naturally, people think that religion is a cause of violence. And that's why, in my opinion, we need to try and understand. Not only dialogue, but also seek to understand each other and put aside prejudice and be curious about the other person's religion, to try to see how they perceive it, how they live it in daily life. It might be completely different from what we may imagine.
The good attitude that we had, at least in our national office, was that we had a meeting on the following Monday anyway. And instead of going straight to work, we spent an hour reviewing what happened and listening to everyone's point of view. I believe that it did a lot of good. We didn't seek to argue, we didn't seek to convince each other. We just expressed ourselves within the group with whom we share a common project. Each one of us expressed the feelings they had at that moment.
Coexist is now present in more than 21 groups spread throughout France and Europe. Over 1,800 members are committed to promoting social cohesion through interreligious dialogue. 5 key objectives are at the heart of the movement's teaching: dialogue, to understand others; solidarity with the poorest in society; building awareness among young people; training and community life through traveling. In 2013, Samuel and 4 other young people decided to travel around the world with the aim of meeting the key players involved in interreligious dialogue.
The idea was a really simple one. Send a team with a Jew, a Christian, a Muslim, an atheist and an agnostic to travel around the world, to have their own interreligious experience on the one hand, and on the other hand to meet people who are doing similar work in the 50 countries that we visited. We left as friends, we knew each other through the Coexist organization, and we came back as brothers.
The team sent back regular video reports on their journey, filmed with a lightweight camera. The Interfaith tour received a lot of media interest, especially because it was such an original idea.
Among the people we met were some of the key world religious leaders, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, the Coptic Pope, the Maronite Patriarch in Lebanon, and Pope Francis. Obviously, when you live so closely with people for a long time, your relationships change. Because you learn that it's not all me, me, me. It's not all you, you, you. It's you plus me plus him. It's us. And how we work together. I realized that I need other people to be myself and to build the world I want to live in, humbly. It's not me, Victor, age 23, who is going to change the world from one day to the next. But I try with others, and so we try together to build a common vision, try to do what we can. And this is one of the things that I really understood for myself about relating to other people. I was in charge of the logistics, of organizing the meetings, finding where to sleep. And each time I tried to make it so that, if possible, we would be able to go to church for Samuel or to the mosque for Ismael, etc. It wasn't always possible. There had to be compromises on both sides. Faith is something very intimate, and as an atheist, I don't know if I have faith. I think that I don't have fewer values than the others, probably very similar to the values of Christians, Jews, and Muslims. What matters is how we live that faith. In any case, what is certain is that the more that I do interreligious dialogue, that I am next to people from other religions or convictions, the more I am strengthened in atheism, and also in the conviction that if we don't find a means today to make everyone understand that difference is not a problem but a solution, we risk heading straight into a wall. This is the reception room. We welcome people who want more information. They can read newspapers. There's always a prayer room open to everyone, for Muslims, Jews and Christians. There's a prayer mat, the Holy Bible, the Quran. We also welcome homeless people on Sundays, have meals in solidarity and share with them.
I would say that working with Coexist allows me to practically live out the gospel on a daily basis, to meet young people from other religious backgrounds, whether Jewish, Muslim, atheist or agnostic, to share how they live, what they believe in, and I can witness to what I live as well. To find balance in all of that, I really need to nourish myself daily in my parish, in my small group, with other young professionals, or on Sundays by going to Mass, to really strengthen myself in my faith, because naturally, all of these exchanges make me think a lot, shake me up in my faith, and I would even say root me even deeper in my faith, and I really need both.
La coexistence active, en fait, c'est une coexistence dans laquelle...
Active coexistence is a form of coexistence in which people who try to live together commit to acting together to serve society.
Agissent ensemble au service de la société.
With all their diverse convictions, they are able to act in a united way. And believers from different religions, together with humanists and atheists, share a universal concern. I'm convinced of this, having travelled around the world. There is a universal concern to serve others and to serve the poor.
Un autre fondement très important, c'est que pour vivre...
A really important principle is that in order to live with other people, we need to find a delicate balance, a bit of a tightrope. This is what active coexistence looks like, between identity and otherness.
L'identité et l'altérité. S'il y a trop d'identité...
If there's too much identity, then we're tempted to proselytize because we want the other to have the same as us. And so we try to convince them to be what we are or to believe in what we believe in. If there's too much otherness, on the other hand, then we look for the lowest common denominator, and so ignore all our individuality, ignore everything which gives us our character, everything which makes us unique, and just look for what we have in common, and so try to make us uniform. And in religious language, this is called a kind of syncretism, in which we just keep what's simplest, for example, the idea of God creating the world, or of a higher power that looks after us, or something like that.
Donc la rencontre pour moi elle se vit sur une ligne de crête.
So for me, this encounter with the other is like being on a tightrope. It's not an easy place to get to, and I need always to find the balance between identity and otherness. And the key to not falling off is the sincerity of our intentions. When I meet someone who is different from me, have I already decided what to do? Either to convert them, or to merge with them, or do I instead go to meet them freely, entirely as I am, and accept the other entirely as they are?
Et en acceptant pleinement ce que lui est.
La rencontre avec l'autre, c'est un choc, mais pas un choc dans le mauvais sens du terme.
Meeting the other is a shock, but not a shock in the negative sense of the word. You encounter a vision of the world which you just don't have. For example, I remember the first time that someone explained the Trinity to me. I didn't understand it at all, and so I said, this isn't possible. I need to dig deeper here. So by discussing with Christians and even by going to talks, you learn that in order to get to know the other, to approach them, you need to be anchored in your own faith. And this means that, for me to understand uniqueness in Islam, I also need to understand what the Trinity is. And to say to myself that God, that truth, the person whom God is, does not belong to me or to any other human being. God is not something that you can have. God is not a possession. I think that an association like ours could never have existed if the Second Vatican Council had not happened. Today, we live in the world of Vatican II, but we have no experience of what it was like before. And I think that the fact of saying that we can actually look at things again, that maybe the Church needs to develop its thinking in a certain direction, is really powerful. Having this capacity to ask yourself questions, to accept that things have to evolve, this is what's changed, and especially in the area of relationships between different religions.
Moi, j'ai découvert Vatican II et Nostra Aetate grâce aux musulmans.
I discovered Nostra Aetate and Vatican II thanks to Muslims. Because when I first started to visit mosques and synagogues, when I was visiting more and more at the start of Coexist, I was asked lots of technical questions about my religion, my identity.
During the Second Vatican Council, a text renewed the kind of relationship that Catholics wanted to establish with Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, and those who follow other religions. The declaration Nostra Aetate was promulgated by Pope Paul VI on 28th of October 1965. It is a revolutionary document which laid the foundations for contemporary interreligious dialogue. The Catholic Church rejects nothing that is true and holy in these religions. The Church therefore exhorts her sons that through dialogue and collaboration with the followers of other religions carried out with prudence and love in witness to the Christian faith and life, they recognize, preserve and promote the good things spiritual and moral, as well as the socio-cultural values found among these men.
This means that the Church asks us as Christians to ensure that when we tell other people what we believe, we are also able to encourage the spiritual values of others, even if they are somewhat different from our own, and so to encourage the other person to be the best that they can be.
It's
an interreligious movement for young people, and one day I'll no longer be young, but there will be others who will come. And that's why we're focused on youth, that is to say secondary students and younger too, so that we can make them aware of this message. So we're really aiming at the next generation, that it will take into account the fact that France today is multicultural, with many religions, and that trying to deny that won't bring about anything good.
Je pense que le XXIe siècle sera, s'il veut être un grand siècle,
I think that the 21st century, if it is to be a great century, will have to tackle the huge question of living together.
Voilà, plus je suis au sein de l'association, plus on rencontre des gens.
And the more I get involved in this association, and the more we meet people from all over, school kids, young adults, institutions, foundations, ministries,
plus je me rends compte que on est sur un sujet.
The more I realize that this is a really important question for our century.
Pour le siècle dans lequel nous sommes. Et je suis assez admiratif de dire que.
And I'm confident enough to say that we've got a good idea here.
On a en tout cas une intuition bonne qu'il faut.
And we have to find ways of developing it, making people more and more aware of it.
Voilà, pour vis-à-vis du grand public.
Since the events of January 2015, the organisation receives at least 2 requests every day from schools to come raise awareness among youth. In March 2015, Coexist was one of the winners of a competition organised by the French state called France Gets Involved, which rewards innovative social initiatives. This success shows how much the method of dialogue is relevant and more than ever indispensable in the face of the challenges of people with different religions and convictions living together in our societies. We can pray for all those who get involved in interreligious dialogue and who look for solutions so as to go beyond the logic of fear and conflict. May the Holy Spirit inspire each one of us to have the right gaze on others and help us to go beyond our prejudices to welcome difference. The word of the month is from the first letter of John, chapter 4, verse 18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear.